Okay, hello everyone, welcome to another episode. All knowledge is a translation of nature, and for now we can say the knowledge that the human being has is a translation, is a biological translation of nature. There's various ways where the idea of knowing something can be approached. We can draw two circles and then draw a circle in each. And in the first circle, concentric circles, the inner circle is in some sense the mind. The outer circle is the body. For the other circle, it's the body and the outer circle is the mind. The inner circle is the body. These are the two relationships, and because it's not fixed, in some sense both relate. There are people on this planet who experience themselves more as a mind. There are some people on the planet who experience themselves more as a body, and it has to do with the intelligence system, which is the causal point. If matter came first, immateriality will be doubted. If the immaterial came first and there's a knowing of that, materiality can be doubted. You know, there are some people who love a painting, you know, and there's some people who could hate the same painting. This doesn't necessarily mean we are different. It just means that how we receive the world is different. You know, it's one artwork. Imagine 10 people looking at the Mona Lisa. It is not the same artwork. And when it comes to life, when we look at these two models of first there being a body and then a mind, or first there being an unknown mind, then a known body. Here is where we can draw a line between what comes from within the person and what comes from outside. We tend to think that something was set into motion in an unknown, mysterious way. The first domino was pushed. That means the inner realms couldn't be noticed until the outer realms were developed. Right now, as I'm speaking, the impression that modern society should have of a person speaking is that they're speaking in accordance to everything they have seen outside of them. You know, that means imagine me being born as a child, and then everything I have seen so far somehow is, you can say, in the background of this talk. The domino effect that sets human psychology in motion, it can be outer, That means it's as if something in front of our eyes activates the need for what is inside us to gain momentum. That means it's not important just why we are here, it's also important how we are here. And believe it or not, I feel we are antennas, and this antenna, really the sense of self dictates its signal. If I think right now I'm a specific person, the antenna signal will not see a lot of things. As if the outer realms will be filtered by the expectation the inner realms have, or the conviction the inner realms have of the outer realms. There are moments in my life where, like right now as I'm speaking, I'm in the conscious waking state. There's the dream state and the deep sleep state, and in the Rebhu Gita they say there's also the fourth, the witnessing state. So I personally feel I've experienced the witnessing state, but when the moment you say it to others, they'd be like, "Hey man, I smell ego. What is this smell?" For me, movement can be inspired from two sources. Either from a subjective movement, then becoming an object, think of an invention being actually made and brought into the outer realms from the inner realms, right? And you can think of something where someone is like reading or talking to you and content from the outer realms is going into the person's inner realms. Right? So when I'm right now in the conscious waking state, I feel like a body that is projecting a mind. And the reason I feel like this is because that is how we have to accept it in this moment in history. It's a very interesting time. It's a time where bodies are trying to be minds. Or the mind is attempted to be understood like an object. It's ridiculous. After some point, we have to realize the alphabet began out of nowhere, that all reality was imagined first. Everything was imagination. There was no such thing as reality. You know? Reality was stabilized, was kept in position, and endured and passed down. You know? In regards to how we know it, how we translate it as a biological creature in this world. You know, this biological creature is doing some weird things. In the outer realms, it is moving. That's not that weird, but it's also recording what it is moving. Like as I'm speaking right now, I'm creating a future self-memory for myself. I can witness my own sound. I can hear my own voice usually. For me, I have experienced my body move faster than my mind, and I've experienced my mind move faster than my body. I've also experienced a moment where the mind and body are being witnessed, as if like a third angle, as if imagine hilariously a trio, we create a triangular relationship. Of course, I may be looking too into this from a mystical angle, but at least the way I've personally understood the archetypes for the body, mind, soul, in another way of saying it, it was as if like the movement of, from a theological lens, Christian theological lens, I would say it's the Son, Holy Ghost, and the Father. You know, there's something that is very visibly the object. You know, in the Christian tradition, the Son of God is visible. You know, but also the Son of God is God. Theology is a very unique area to go into because it's like similar in, anyways, what I'm trying to say is that we have a relationship with the objects in our moment. We have a relationship with not how every subject correlates, every object correlates to a subject, but how you also correlate to a subject. So a part of life is already drawn. That's like your body. It's kind of like provided already, and the mind is drawing itself, and the soul is literally the hand that is moving the mind. In the Bhagavad Gita, I need to use this metaphor to um, develop the idea, but I'll tell you, it's like in the Bhagavad Gita, they said that the body is like, imagine a horse, imagine a chariot driver, now imagine a person in the chariot. So the horses were your body, the chariot driver was your mind, the soul inside the chariot. The soul was hidden inside the chariot. That means as long as your mind can maintain your body, your soul doesn't need to poetically get involved. And when you can say when the chariot driver, when your mind goes into turbulence, let's say you're a person on this earth right now, there's so many types of pressures in this world. There's pressures self-generated, there's pressures generated by others. So in some sense, the soul, I was about to say troll. The soul comes to see the chariot driver. And that is really what I would say nirvana. Where the sleeping mind notices the awakened soul. The soul that could never sleep. The part of you that was energy and attention prior to anything being able to happen to a personality or to an individual construct. If I were to treat myself as a body that has a mind, anytime I see, visualize, or my memories and all this, I gotta look at my memories and be like, you don't exist. That means it's not that easy that you say, for example, people back in the day, they had superstitious views. And so let's say that somebody says, yo man, I saw an angel, and you might be like, oh, you saw me the other day? But I'll tell you, it's as if, like, imagine somebody says, I saw an angel, and then, of course, the secular man's like, you saw an angel? Oh, good for you, and it's a situation where we immediately push that idea of the angel, that abstract idea in the inner realm of the angel, we push it aside, right? We're like, no, preposterous, there's no angels, you kidding me? But check this out. The idea of ourself is like that idea of the angel. It is as vague. It is as non-object-like. It is as unreal. So I am saying it's hilarious. Imagination through reality is doubting other imagination, but the basic reality was imagined in the first place. I will tell you, we are not in reality and there's imagination which we could slap aside or not. We are in imagination. In Greek mythology, there's a very nice clue that the universe began in some sense through a state of chaos and then order came. Do you know? What that means is chaos is more natural to the universal positioning than order. Right? Order was an addition, was a development, was in some sense, you can say the cooling down of an vast energetic movement, There is a mystery that no one can fulfill. And these are mysteries that come from within. In other talks, I've said it that a person truly learns something when they are tackling a question that is like a fragment of their soul, The common man wants answers. The uncommon wants the right answers. The uncommon man is looking for the right question before the answers. Before the right answers. Because you could be given a right answer, but it could be to a question that has no relevance to your eyes. Do you know? That means you can, like somebody, you can ask someone, hey man, what is the mind? And the person's like, I don't have time for this shit, man, I gotta go. The person doesn't have time to know their mind. But for me, I reached a certain point where I was like, how have I been living this whole time not knowing the full extent of what is here right now? And I will tell you, I thought, well, I used the term within, but I will tell you, when you go within, there is no without. If I asked you right now, what you see, is it the world, or is it the amount of, is it light plus brain plus world? Right now I feel no human being can ever see the world because we are in some sense a part of it. You know, it's like your finger trying to experience the whole body. It cannot just be a finger anymore. And we're like, yo, we're human beings trying to connect with nature, not realizing that that connection means the individualism is renounced. That means all the religions, the mystic traditions, and all of mythology, it was onto something. Because there was a sort of superiority in the changes of nature. That means there's two types of knowledge. There is static knowledge and there's dynamic knowledge. If I went way back, let's say 700 years ago, it would be knowledge in some sense that's temporary and knowledge that is eternal. And human beings on this planet, they knew from the moment you open your eyes, you're gaining knowledge. From the moment. You know, it's this strange thing where the educational system, it kind of makes me in a strange way sad, but also happy that it's happening early. Sometimes it's bad what happens in human history, but on another level, as a species, I will tell you, as a planetary being, you're like, okay, the species got through this mistake. You know, the child fell down on the bike, now it doesn't fear falling down and it so rides the bike intensely. And so I feel life is similar. That you fear, I shouldn't say you, of course, keep in mind. But I'm saying like, fear is everything in life becomes perfect and has no other option left to become perfect when you accept the imperfect. I would say one thing that I don't know how, since my youth I had, was that imperfection wouldn't bother me. Do you know? Because you are a fool as long as you get to where you need to. That means for eons you can be seen as a fool. You know, you can jog through universes being shunned by the shadow. But I'm telling you that when it comes to what is knowledge, it's a poetic roar. It's a rage. It's a sort of anger of how you have been content with not knowing your true intelligence. For me, I made life my ally. And it wasn't through some theosophical relationship, multidimensionality. It's pretty much as simple as this, that when you stop doing what doesn't work, what works can happen. And so, if you are seeking truth outside of yourself, all that is required is to realize the honest feedback, and then you come to your soul eyes. Your soul eyes are the most profound thing. They are not conceptual. It is mystery incarnate. That means whoever feels unknown, I am telling you, that is the superior state. Because where else can known creatures go? For how long can we archive the universe? In how many filters can we put the universe? For me, it's like an infinite game. It's an infinite game where there can be endless words till the end of time in all languages. Two great attempts should be made in this life. And I feel wherever you are, wherever you are in the world, this will help you. Pretty much two lenses the person needs to look at. What is there to know about the self? And what is there to know about the world? And their similarity. When a person comes to know their self, you're actually like a swimmer, Olympic swimmer, diving into like your memories. It's a memory management. Whenever a person, that means I'm telling you, like our brains are so advanced that if a person was watching, let's say a play, or was watching, let's say, a TV show, okay, and they suddenly close their eyes, the virtual canal of information was, let's say, for a second closed. You would, in some sense, through hearing what's going on in the film, the brain has an ability from all the scenes in the film you have seen so far to recreate what is happening. That means every sense, all of our senses, they're strange. And sometimes this may be one of the more unique things I say in these talks, but sometimes I feel every sense of my perception is a being. It has a life of its own. My eyes have a life of their own, a life that they could never understand, the ears. The ears have a life of their own, they can never understand, you know. But in some sense, it's as if all my sensory perception are tenants. They are tenants residing in my attention. And so for me, it's as if really there was a time where I could say I did not honor the outer realms. That means imagine being a person who felt life was not accessible. When I say life wasn't accessible, I mean in my youth, it was easy to not care for the world. Now it has become so difficult because all the efforts of individual human beings is just resculpting what's here on earth for the future generations. It's like the world is a giant parking lot of a shopping mall, and different people are coming and parking their cars for some time and leaving. Now imagine people are just throwing their trash, on the shopping mall, on the parking lot, and on some level the cement doesn't get bothered, the cement doesn't care, the cement of the parking lot, the planet doesn't care, we are rude to it. But human beings care, we are rude to it. So what that means is pretty much all species anywhere, there's the effort, efficient effort, or inefficient. And so there is no such thing as success and failure. It's a river. Success and failure are for a drop. That means if you really are such a fixed, specific individuality, sure, you can create your throne. You can create a future throne you want to sit on, But I will tell you that the wisdom of the world, that it is so transient. It is the story where kings learn humility. There's stories of many mystics who have scolded kings. And how could they? Like, you would think back in the day, everybody in the kingdom was afraid of the king. But how could the mystic who was living in nature come and suddenly scold the king? Because nature's law is man's law. You know, and I thought about why was it, I mean, of course, there's this whole strange thing of like the blood of royalty back in the day having something to do with being different. You know, like, I don't know, there was like this, like more iron content. But what I'm saying, like, it's just this idea that um, the singular teaches the dual teaches the singular. Man's kingdom is in nature's kingdom. Nature's kingdom is also in man's mind, you know? So it's this cool thing in this world where the neurons didn't just create only a small network and that was enough. That the exposure of the world, actually exposure to the world, stretches your brain. And I'll give you an example. Imagine you're someone who you've climbed a tree. You've actually, in the outer realms, when you were a kid, you climbed a tree. And so now, let's say you're sitting on a bus and you're looking outside and you're passing these, like, let's say you see a nice tree, you know, a tree you get a feeling to climb or something, but you're on a bus. The mind can instantly visualize your body climbing that tree. I have had an ability, I think every person has had this ability. We have just not found a way to identify or acknowledge it somehow. That our mind can create itself in a space that it has copy-paste created of the world. There's no such thing as honestly knowledge in a changing world. Really, it's just an event happening. It's that moment where you feel there is specific information, but the rivers are just going to the ocean. It's such a natural living thing that I would say that there should be, like, you know what we should do? We should create an educational system where the world soul is still personalized to the child. If there was no such thing as imagination, if it wasn't because of emotions making the person, regardless of what rationality or reason, change their view, in some sense it's just a response to the content of the mind. That means some people have this view of knowledge, it's like a backpack with books in it. It's a weight you're carrying around. But I'm telling you, it's like the tree can't understand. The leaf on the branch, which is being moved by the wind, cannot understand the wind. And so, outer realm knowledge is trying to understand how you are the roots of the tree and not just the stem of the leaf, not just the simple leaf. But I would say real knowledge, the knowledge of the eternal, is to realize that it's a tag kind of thing. That you endure through a momentum. There is momentum here. There's direction and speed. You know, a velocity to our being. We're not just like squirrels and birds, you know? Because if we were like squirrels and birds, if we were like other animals, we would not worry. You don't see the squirrel worrying. The squirrel, for example, if it's in danger, it fears, right? But it doesn't naturally worry. And that's the thing that separates human beings and animals. Animals are not conscious of their mortality. That means we human beings, we, for example, like we don't see, we consider time. We know that because life ends, there is endless reasons to change consciously. You know, it's like you were walking, you know, on this mountain. Suddenly, that part of the mountain fell, and you're like, okay, I'm not gonna walk this way anymore, and you change. Your free will can change uh, your attention can change your life if you care to pull the strings of its mystery. And please do. There is no greater strategy. The strategy to the body is continuity. The strategy to the mind is exploration. And the soul is beyond personhood, therefore there is no fear. And I will tell you, there isn't heaven. Not that there is, like there is in Vedic thought, for example, the abode of Indra Loka. Do you know? But like Indra's dimension, you know, like the kind of Abrahamic heaven seems to suggest that. But in Vedic thought, there were also superior dimensions. That means it's like, do you want to just go into a better world, or do you want to know what it was all about when you were? That is thing. Existence is the opportunity, not of the lifetime, an opportunity of a lifetime. It's the opportunity of the universal sector's life. And people are caught in a spell. I will tell you, there's a spell going on, and this spell is ancient. I call it language worship. That means trying to find truth in language is like running after the mirage of a water river in a desert. Language is just it is just like a technology that's good enough for now, but it is our salvation can't depend on. And all of knowledge is kept through language. So pretty much there was the eyes of the world opened, then the eyes of a creature in this world opened, then the eyes of the creature to the world opened, then the eyes of the world to the creature opened. That means a potential advanced state of where the human being can go is being self and world simultaneously. That means when you require it, you individualize. When you don't require it, you're the presence of the moment. So right now, people are being born and being personality, and then they die. Do you know? I feel it should be something where it's like the person is born, they experience personality, they experience presence, and if they're wise, they go into the rhythm of their presence. Every being born has a rhythm, by the way. It's literally like how you as an intelligent being, if there was nothing else to rely on, you would have to rely on the totality of your being. That means when a person has no allies, when a person walks alone, they are in some sense actually not alone. The world has become them. They have become a moment in the world. And imagine we stripped away the language, the names of, and the sounds. We would no longer be people. We would just revert back to how squirrels were never squirrels. They were nature's, a part of nature's silent journey. So, two types of knowledge. And these two types of knowledge, let's say unknown knowledge and known. Technically knowledge is the known. Let me see, what can I say? Okay, unobservable knowledge and observable knowledge. Observable knowledge is being put into the box of language, immediately processed, like language is a shredder and we're putting what we observe into it, you know, classifying one event of nature into fragment meanings. Then that's pretty much academia, modern academia. The unobservable knowledge, however, has to do with the knower, right? So that means right now, if I was to ask myself, how do I know I'm existing right now, right? I know, for the way I process that is that there is the observed, there is like the room I'm existing in, the biological body, everything I am noticing that is here, the observable, but I also know that there is the witness, the awareness is unobservable. Sorry guys, I need a quick intermission, I'll be back. Sorry guys, had to take care of something that couldn't be avoided. Anyways, where was I? Mind, body, mind. We're creatures that are advancing. Because we've had inventors, we know that the idea of invention is imagination becoming reality. So pretty much an advancement towards an advanced civilization would mean that the species is mastering how, through observance, both unobservable and observable, how the mind communicates itself as a body and how the body expresses itself as a mind. Wow, check this out. The mind receives through the body expresses through a mind. These two statements are so important. And so you can say the more you know about your body, the more you know how to receive the mind. The more you know about the mind, it's like one is a mode of expression, one is a mode of reception. Anytime we want to communicate, we have to be minds first, then bodies. Anytime we want to receive it, we don't have to per se be a mind. You know, you could be asleep, you know, totally in a different state, you know, and somebody touches your body and you wake up. You know, you didn't need to have your mind didn't need to be conscious before the body behaved, you know. But when it comes to reception, but when it comes to expression, the mind, there requires to be a consciousness there. For me, when it comes to intelligence, which is really why knowledge is being gained, like if a person says, like, why should I know in this world, you know, because it's like, it's something accessible, you know. It's an opportunity. Life is really an energetic opportunity to, from the outer realms, bring out into the inner, from the inner realms to bring into the outer realms. So the observer and the observed. That's how I know I exist. And we have been under the impression that we have to limit knowledge based on the body. I feel these words are archaic. Body, mind, soul, these are super old school. Now I realize that the only way we can culturally integrate the archaic and the modern is by creating a multidimensional context and putting everything under communication. That means we start seeing human beings as animals that are communicating the meaning of their lives, and the meaning of the world is being communicated to them. So your self is how you communicate to the world. Your world is how it communicates to yourself, you know. It's an interesting world we're in. It's technically a surprise, like a gift every day you wake up. It has potential for ways of movement the mind is not familiar with. And also our minds provide use of the body. And we can say those who really went towards the soul, or you can call it presence, their real presence as a being, they were using their mind. And how you use the mind is starting from a body that has no awareness to anything else. You notice you have a mind. You notice the mind isn't an object, so it becomes mysterious for you how you can understand your mind if it's not a shape. Do you know? And then you notice that the mind, the observer, that is perceiving the observed can add an overlay on the observed, another level of observance. So what I'm trying to say is that it's like the person realizes their body is a drop, the body will evaporate. They realize their mind as a river. A river can't evaporate. A river endlessly continues, you know? And when it comes to that pure being, the mind can become transparent in the sense that it's just like an unknown mover of a known body, or it can be an unknown mover of a known subject of a known body. You know, semi-known, semi-unknown subject of a, you know, known body. Pretty much it's the known is communicating to the unknown is communicating to the known, and civilization is being built in the middle of this. I think it was like around 2 years ago, I asked myself, why my eyes, in some sense, what can my eyes do? Because my sight is being here. That means we don't seeing, it's like you just open your eyelids, you know? And the sight is just being here. But when it comes to being something, it's as if like how we are seeing our lives is simultaneously being in a dimension separate to how we are, doing something in our life. So I'm saying it's like we are the observer of two levels of movement, two densities of movement, the objective realm, the subjective realm, and then the unknown observer. So that means I don't have kids personally, but if I had kids and they asked me what is going on in this world, the honest answer would be, I don't know. That's the honest answer. It's not that I don't know, it's that the I cannot know. The I thought cannot know. It's like either we identify with the tip of the iceberg and think there's endlessly an unknown, either we identify with the part of the iceberg that's under the water, or we just identify with the water and realize that the iceberg is an illusion in the water, do you know? To the truth of the ocean. That means aside from shape, it is the same. That means, how fascinating is that? That from one substance, for example, gold, you can make a statue of a gold eagle, gold cow, I don't know, gold hamster, you know. You can make the same substance can animate in multiple ways, and we're entertaining individualism. It's like like we're all the periodic table being alive right now, you know. You know, I looked at the periodic table, but I never knew I was in it, you know. My name is literally an elemental formation. How, like, our subjective senses of thought is a biological elemental position. Like, when a person like looks at their body, like, what do you see? You see totally a creature. Technically, you know, if we think we're animals, we don't need to go to the zoo. We just need to look in the mirror. There's something more going on, and I think really it surpasses language. The continental philosophers, Ludwig Wittgenstein, of course, he didn't treat himself as I don't think to himself he was a continental philosopher, but his work was literally led to the work of continental philosophy. So the limits of my language are the limits of my world. So if language is the limit of the world, if the language evolves, the world evolves. Or direct experience can evolve the language. That means, do we really have the time in this existence to not be free. I can't tell you how many different mystics I've seen just from online, just doing my own research, that they just bring the attention of the person to the inseparability of the individual with nature. And they just leave it there. It's strange. It's as if, somebody said, hey, here's the path to peace. But nobody asked, why do I need peace? How does peace make sense in a changing world? And peace doesn't make sense for the body, because the body is a temporary system. The biological program is temporary, so the body will always be under some sort of changing pressure in the world, even gravity. Like, I honestly feel the gravity on our planet should be less. Like, it's too much gravity. I feel pretty much it's like the person is not overweight, it's gravity. If the gravity was different, the scale would read something different, I feel mysticism begins, the mystic's path begins when the person wonders whose life is this. And that who is no longer enough to just be a snapshot photo, as if the person's like, what's truth? And somebody gave him a catalog and they opened the catalog, you're like, oh my God, is this truth? And so it's one of those things where I'm telling you, if you're getting a catalog for truth, there's something that's gone wrong. Language is being held too strongly. For me, the experience cannot be judged by words, but when language tries to replace the person, like we gotta treat, like this may sound scary, but you don't know how many ideological systems clone people. Language has an ability to clone you. What that means is it's like the way we are as a being, as a creature, is that the environment we go in, we animate and we get used to. Whatever environment you're in, you'll get used to it. It's kind of that thing where they say it to, like, I remember seeing on this podcast a bunch of stand-up comedians talk about it, where they're like, you go getting this mediocre job and you have these dreams of doing stand-up on the side, but then the comfort of the job, it makes you not want to try something new. As if when the person gets used to a certain stage, they in some sense commit to it, That means, I'll give you an example. If I was around rude people, I would be very open to being rude. If I was around people who laughed at cruel things, after some time, it would be easy for me to laugh at cruel things, And so we have to realize that the ecosystem reprograms us, and the voice that comes from outside, like right now as I'm speaking, I'm the voice of your environment. I'm not your voice, whoever's listening, right? And this is the big secret, that in some sense you gotta realize the truth is from within. Because if you seek it without, you become enslaved to the words of another. You stop your own search, and your search is what the world is waiting for. That means, imagine that one day the person was walking, and the person had attained all the supremest heights of educational certification possible. They had become like a sort of academic god, So now imagine this person who has reached the edge of certification, This person suddenly hears a voice from the sky, imagine. And the person is like, oh my God, where's that voice coming from? And the person shouts the voice, and the voice says, I am the voice of the universe. And the person is just speechless, just listening, as if the whole universe, through just random giant voice coming from the sky, is just speaking. Do you know? And so this person suddenly, in some sense, let's say, the universe says your next assignment is no longer to pass a test, but to ask why you are being tested in the first place. You know? Why there is a journey to be had, Louis. I feel the body can't fear anything. Fear is relevant to the psychological character, what is in the driver's seat of the person's attention. If the person treats themselves as multidimensional, they are giving themselves a freedom to see before they do things. But if things have to be with the perfection of one dimension, there's going to be a tragedy. Do you know? That means human beings, our eyes are so different, you know, and we're trying to live in the same society. And this same society, of course, has the same sort of rules, but we're also different beings. So really, we should create a society that is, rather than like a snapshot photo of greatness, you know, is like a river, is like a strategy. You know, this may be a strange thing to say, but I think we have to build civilization as if it's an endlessly implementing strategy. Do you know? That means I remember hearing Elon Musk talk about business and running a company. And when he ran his companies, he's like, yeah, people told me it's going to fail. So he had the impression that the company was going to fail, so he wasn't bothered. He's like, okay, yeah, it could fail, you know? And then he just reduced the percentage of failure rather than like most the common man chasing for success. You know, the uncommon man is not fearing failure and is just reducing the percentage of it, right? So that was Elon Musk's strategy. Then I thought, what if 8 billion people had this view where, yeah, we're going to go extinct, 99.9% of species go extinct or whatever? Sure, that's a possibility, but how can we live in a way where we are reducing, you know, that percentage? That means we had like the, what is it, the golden rule, treat your neighbor like yourself. You know, now we should create a new rule. Do you know? I would say the diamond rule. We have the golden rule, let's call this the diamond rule. that anything the person does, in some sense, any person can be patient enough to find a strategy that is efficient for the collective. The diamond law: everything is going to end. Usually what has a beginning has an end. So everything's going to end. From the beginning to the end, there is the tactical opportunity of the multidimensional being. That how the conscious waking state is used. I would say that, imagine you're a warrior. You're a warrior back in the day. And you're a Viking. And you believe in Valhalla, this paradise of glorious warriors. You know? So you, as this Viking warrior, right? Imagine you won the battle you were in and you had to sleep and there was no time. You just had to quickly sleep and wake up and there was going to be another battle, right? And you wanted to train. Let's say suddenly you were a warrior who had gone in a battle and you were in a wartime situation back in the day, you know, swords and shield and madness, you know. And so you had no time to train. You were between battles. In your sleep, imagine you were a warrior who you entertained Valhalla. You knew Valhalla was another dimension. Okay? So you went to sleep and in your mind suddenly saw yourself in a grass field. You know? And suddenly saw yourself in your dream training that technique you didn't have time to train for in the outer realms. Right? That's how advanced dreaming can be. Where it's training you before you wake up. You know, I honestly got the vision of this really in my inner realms when it's a science fiction chapter of this novel I've written called The Messenger of Giants. There's a chapter where there's a character named Azadima. Just, I've given the characters unique names. Azadima, and Azadima is lying on the edge of this bridge that has been broken in a parallel universe of Earth in the year 5025. And so in his dream, he's a person who has no idea, a very humble character, but in his dreams there's a voice that comes and speaks to him. And the voice tells him everything that will happen when he wakes up. Right? So Azadima somehow has been surviving in this, and I forgot to mention it's a post-apocalyptic kind of reality. And so Azadima in the dream, in the chapter, for example, I'll tell you this, a snippet of it. Like, there's a scene where Azadima in his dream, there's this bright light figure. You know, as if imagine a robed figure where you can't see the face, but the robe is made of light. You know, and this figure comes to Azadima and he's been with him since his childhood in his dreams, talking to him. Sorry guys, my attention went elsewhere. In the dream, the light figure tells Azadima that this is the last time I'm seeing you, and he tells him what's going to happen. He's going to be carried by these cyborgs to this room where the walls close, you know. And there's all a giant cylinder thing also following this character.
Anyways, pretty much what I'm saying is, in his dream, there was a character made of light. The character made of light pushes him, tells him what's going to happen, tells him not to worry, pushes him out of the dream into reality. He's being carried by these, I don't know, cyborg humanoid things. And our conscious waking state, we can be prepared for it in our dream states. The mind is living the mind's life is much more faster than the body's life. Your mind, the states of your mind change so many times throughout the day compared to the body. The body changes way slower. The body is like an alphabet where letters are being added very slowly. Different experiences of the body are being accumulated through time as the years go by. But then there's also the mind's life, where throughout the day at a much hyper speed, I would say. For me, the transcendence beyond speed is instantaneity and simultaneity. That means what is the fastest method of travel? Transportation, teleportation. That means the moment we have teleportation things, we have to totally design a new exercise program for human beings, And this idea of teleportation, it's also in legend as doors. Doors people would open, and the door would lead to another dimension if you had the right key. You could think of it this way, that there's endless doors and endless states of mind that we haven't yet tapped into. And how much of a shame would it be if we are so many human beings are being born, and rather than discovering their unique gifts, they're in some sense trying to just be the past. There has to be a novel dimension to things. If there has to be the responsibility of the compiler, and there has to be the responsibility of the explorer. If these two modes, or these two archetypes are alive in the person, I will tell you, your life speeds up. People think the more knowledge they have, the more they will actually feel like they know. We will actually never feel content with knowledge because the unknown is too big. That's it. So it's easier to be in a world where we're like, okay, it's unknown, let's see how much we can know. Pretty much, I'm just saying the unknown is here first. We forget that fact, we suffer. We think knowledge has to be specified in a certain way till the end of time. And language wars continue, and when language wars continue, you know what the casualties are? Fragmentation of belief systems. We can say when inner truths fought, the outer realm began becoming endlessly classified. The inner experiential truth is like wearing the outer realms. And so in some sense, I feel like my body is in my mind, but in a strange way, when I open my eyes, I feel my mind is in my body. And it gets even more mysterious if you think of yourself as energy, and if you think of what we're calling as matter, as the observable universe, as a certain wavelength in the electromagnetic spectrum. Like a certain frequency in that spectrum. We don't like that snakes see in infrared. Dogs see in black and white. I don't know, cats have night vision, So imagine in the future, nanotechnology evolves to such a degree and its relationship with biology that people can literally go to a medical station and in some sense have their eyes change. Literally imagine the person is an airplane pilot, like an air fighter or something, and the person's like, I want an actual eyes of an eagle, right? But there is also the challenge that the person is like, they work at night, so they get the eyes of a cat or something. Through nanotechnology, the human eye transforms or something. Even through the genetics or something, genetics altering. These are technologies that are not here now, but it's fair to say that we can fathom them if they were their consequences. So technically, some technologies are already in the outer realms. Some technologies are already in the inner realms. They just haven't been brought into the outer realms. There's some things that people know that it's as if in the general outer world is not being acknowledged, but everybody knows because it's part of the human dimension of experience. In a world where there's an information explosion, the first thing that becomes vulnerable is the idea of the human being. That means whether you are a person who you feel you're looking through life through the void dimension, if you're a being who's considering you're looking through the void, if you're a being who feel you are looking through life as the whole thing, as a oneness, as a sort of there's no longer people, everything is God moving. If you're a person who's in duality, you think there's people and endless systems and cause and effect probabilities, just echoing on. Or regardless if you feel you're an infinite being, the unknown surpasses all dimensions. That means beyond the identity that is crafted through the furnaces of knowledge, the unknown is the teaching. There's no longer a teacher-student. It's the teaching. It's the living teaching. It is literally like a pilot. Before you lift off, you're checking. You're checking your outer realms. You're checking the emotional directive of your body. You then check your emergence, how I thoughts emerge for you. That means there's one thing thinking your I thought. There's another thing, you watching how the I thought appears, how you become you in every moment. Watching that is, that's a great thing. Anybody who could watch the mind. Literally like how you watch a film, it's like watching your life as a film, and it's like the person in the cinema is sitting at this chair. They're super still, but what they're watching on the cinema screen is moving. Right? So now imagine you start watching your whole moment of being like it's a film. Let's say you are someone who loves films. Guess what? You want to become a mystic, watch how life is being a film. And then wonder about its direction. Wonder about the actors involved. Wonder about the production crew of nature, If the language defines you, the language owns you. If the language doesn't define you, the language becomes at your service. Like a cool analogy is like, imagine in a subtler way of looking at things, Every person's brain has roots stretching into the edges of the universe. We are in a universe, we are being part of this universe, we are aware of this part of the universe. We are technically universal awareness in motion. I mean, like, you know, it's as if, like, can we say a person's finger can move without the whole body knowing? I feel that if we are bold enough to treat the whole universal activity as an organism, in some sense, it becomes beyond fathom. So we have to not fear the unknown. If we can make the unknown normal, then nobody feels judged. Then there comes an artistic uh, uh, upheaval. Excuse me. You know, there's an artist, you ask them, hey man, how do you draw this artwork? The artist tells you, yeah, I drew it like this, like that, like this, like that. Then you ask another artist, how did you draw your artwork? The artist's like, I don't know, man. You know, I just had this feeling and the image was there and I just drew it. That's the real artist. The artist is like, out of all the professions, the profession that gets really close to the unknown, but still has one foot into reality. One foot at the edge of imagination, the edge of the unknown, and one foot at the edge of the known. You know? Literally like, you know, like a karate split. Knowledge that comes from within tends to have instantaneous trust because it arises from an experience that the firmness of the activity comes from there. Knowledge that comes from outside must be tested. That means the scientific method serves us in managing the outer realms. What that means is, like, we saw like a saber-toothed tiger jump out of the bush, and that caused us to have this evolutionary urge to build like next level laser beam machines, you know, to defend us in nature. I feel just by seeing just knowing that knowledge is nature happening and that it's a living dynamic experience and that it has a presence regardless of what you think about it. That means every person's true nature, it's not something they know. It's not something the personality can know. It is something that either in moments of stillness the personality ceases and the true nature is only there, or in moments of intense movement. And I would say advanced communication, where the person suddenly notices the unknown there and trusts the unknown. So whatever method you use in this world, it's just learning to trust the unknown and having your mind's eyes be open. That means a person can close their eyes, but it doesn't mean their mind's eyes is closed. It's just about where the attention is pointed to. Is it inward or is it outward? If the attention is pointed inward, the person has no resistance to the outer realms. If the attention is pointed to the outer realms, the person is bringing a change into the outer realms. Of course, there's going to be some sort of feedback, you know.
The diamond rule is just to care for the heartbeat of the species. That's it. To treat your species like yourself, like how you want to be treated as a person, with the whole species. And then I would say it's just a phase of design. Hopefully, shitload of designers will be born in the future. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. I hope this episode was helpful. I'll be on Discord for those interested. Blessings.
Yeah, I can hear you live. Hello?